Hello, I'm Lizelle Sambry, and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things writing, traditional publishing, and a little bit of reading. And today I'm so excited to share a secret I've been sitting on for a while now. This is really the last secret I've been sitting on this channel, and that is that the Blood-like duology, that is Blood-like Magic and Blood-like Fate, have been optioned for film/TV by Circle Blue Entertainment. So yeah, this is something I never thought I'd be saying about any of my books, really. And here we are, and it's extremely exciting. So in this video, I'm going to talk basically about what an option means. Like, what does it mean to have your books optioned for film or TV? Because I know that you all are probably sitting there like, okay, so what does that mean? A show is coming, or like what's going on? So I'm gonna explain all of that to you. I'm gonna talk about my journey to getting a film agent, which I haven't really discussed on this channel just because I didn't think it was like enough content to fill out a whole video. And so I'm going to talk about that. And I'm of course going to discuss the journey towards having these books optioned for film/TV. And discuss a little bit more about how all of that came about. And then I'll talk a little bit about what's next. So what are kind of like the next steps after this. And there are timestamps, so you can jump around to wherever you want to jump around to based on what you want to know or are interested in. And the final thing I will say is that this is based on my knowledge and my experience, which I know is not perfect. This is all very new to me as well. So I am not professing to be an expert on this topic. I'm just going to try and share with you everything that like I have learned and I have experienced thus far. So let's go ahead and get started. What is selling your option? What does selling your option mean? So essentially, when you sell your option, you are selling the rights to adapt the story to whomever you have decided to sell those rights to. And this is for a specific period of time. So you will contractually decide upon what this could be, but it could be a year, it could be 2 years. And so during that period of time, if they do not end up making your work, if they don't actually end up adapting it, those rights would revert back to you. However, you might also give them like a second chance, if you will, so they could option it again and pay you an additional amount of money to option it for another additional amount of years. And after that time elapses, once again, those rights revert to you. And so that's why you are selling the option. This is not the same as selling the rights, because to my understanding, if you sell the rights, you are giving them the ability to adapt at any point, at any time they want. There's no rights reversion to you. And so potentially whoever these are sold to could sit on that forever and just kind of never make anything. And you are kind of stuck in that position. So it is not the same as selling your rights. From what I have heard from people, you do not want to do that. You want to sell the option. And so that's the difference. And an option is not a guarantee. So I will say that firmly. I know we all want to be like, yeah, this means like it's gonna be turned into a show or movie, because then people run out and they'll like buy your book and all this stuff. But to be realistic and transparent, which I like to be on this channel when I am talking to you, this is not a guarantee. There are a lot of books that get optioned that never get announced. So you don't even get to hear that they were optioned. Or it's just, it never happens. The rights revert. It's kind of nice for the author because you get to keep all your money. So that's great that you got for selling the option. But it does not guarantee. There's still a lot of steps that you have to go through in order to get from that option process to the actual making of the TV show or movie. And even at that point, like, there are times where a project will be greenlit and they will start to make it, but for whatever reason they stop and then it doesn't finish, or people will make the entire entire show, which we have seen more recently where an entire show has been made and then for whatever reason is no longer going forward on that platform or stream or a network or whatever. And then sometimes people have to find somewhere different to house it. I believe that recently happened with the Spiderwick Chronicles, and they are, from what I've heard, being moved now to Roku. So sometimes those things happen. So it's not a guarantee of anything being made, but it's very exciting because it is a step in that direction. Like, you went from nothing, no one, no chance, to now like, okay, now we are moving along the step ladder to the possibility of having a film or TV show made, because now you have sold the option to someone. And there are different kinds of people that could option the work. So in my case, it was optioned by a production company. I have heard sometimes of a streamer or a network kind of directly optioning it. Sometimes it might be optioned even by a screenwriter who is like interested in it and wants to like take it other places. It might be optioned by an actor, those sorts of things. And so who can be purchasing the option is like pretty varied. As part of talking about my journey towards getting a film agent, I am going to discuss a little bit of the history of Blood Like Magic and the Blood Like duology in terms of film and TV. So way back in 2019, when Blood Like Magic was on submission, so it hadn't even been picked up by a publisher yet, it was on submission, and me and my agent at that time had kind of like a catch-up call, which is just, we do these on a regular basis, usually annually, just to kind of talk about like what I'm working on and like plans we have going forward. And sometimes my agent may have updates for me that she shares. In this case, usually she sends things over emails, but sometimes she does share updates. And so she did have an update for me for this time. So essentially a very well-known production company had expressed interest in optioning Blood Like Magic. And so they had been sent the manuscript. She didn't tell me when they had asked because she didn't want to like get hopes up or anything. So she waited to see like if there was interest first, which I personally appreciated a lot because I was living fancy free. I was already anxious about submission. I don't think it would have made me feel great to be anxious about that too. But they had ultimately passed. But for me, that was like great. That was a very positive. I got a nice ego boost from that. I was like, wow, okay. Because they were well known enough that I knew by name the company, having known very little, if anything, about film and TV. So that was like a nice ego boost for me. And then we like moved on with our lives. Nothing came of it. Nothing happened. And my agent continued to try and find me a film agent because that whole time she was trying to find me a film agent. So I don't know if this is the same for all agencies, but in the case of like my agency, my agent basically like, it's the same sort of similar as to when your agent is trying to get you a book deal. Like they submit your work to publishers and they try and get you a book deal. So similarly, she would submit my work to kind of film agents and try to get one of them interested in me so that they could represent me. Because when you have a film agent representing you, they essentially form also the same kind of function as a literary agent in that they are then reaching out, contacting production companies, people in film and TV to try and get someone to option the rights to your books. And so that's why you want a film agent, film representative, and your agent, at least in my case, and I believe in a lot of cases, is the person that tries to solicit that person for you. Sometimes people might reach out and contact you. It might be the other way around. But in my case, it was like my agent was like on the hunt looking for someone for me. Now we jump forward to 2021, which is when my agent Christy emailed me to say that we had interest from someone, from a film agent who would like to sign me, who I did end up signing with. This process was incredibly fast in that basically my agent emailed me and was like, hey, she wants to hop on a call. This is basically just for you to feel it out and decide if you would like to work with this person, but otherwise, done deal. And then we had the phone call. I said yes, and that was it. That was the end of it. So it's very, very fast, which is why I did not make any sort of video. It's very different from like something like submission or querying. It was just like very fast, very to the point. And I signed with Dana Spector at CAA, which I was very, very excited about because she's worked with authors like Julie Murphy, who has written a ton of YA books. And of course, the Dumpling movie was made and was shown on Netflix. She also worked with Jessica Townsend, who wrote the Nevermore series, which it's a well-known middle grade series that I had like heard of. And so it was very, very exciting. And originally, Dana's interest was actually in Delicious Monsters. So hence why this, I guess it happened in 2021 because I sold the book in 2021. Did I sell it in 2021 or 2020? 2020, oh my gosh. But anyway, I digress. Signed me based off of interest in Delicious Monsters, but agreed that she wanted to represent all of my work, which is great, which is really, really good because it meant that my other books and like future books would fall under her umbrella, and it wouldn't be a case of where I'd have to be like, okay, I guess only like some books are being represented and some books are not. So that was also fantastic. And CAA is a very reputable, well-known agency as well. So it was just all really good stuff, and I was not involved in any of the nitty-gritty of that, but it was very exciting. And then I pretty much was like, okay, well, that's kind of it. So the thing about film and TV is that the whole process is very, very slow. It is incredibly slow. I think we think like publishing is slow, film, TV even more so, way slower. And so from that point, I was still kind of like, this is a bit like we're at another level, we're at another rung or stage, and now there's potential, but I wasn't going to put any hopes and dreams or anything like that. I was just kind of like, yeah, it was a very sign and forget. It was like, yay, amazing to work together, and I'll do my thing and you'll do your thing, and if something comes up, then we'll talk again. And now we get to the story of the actual optioning of Blood Like Magic and Blood Like Fate. So I am just going about my regular business. Again, I signed with Dana. Her interest was in Delicious Monsters for the signing, and then expanded to all of my work. So I had really I really had no expectation for anything, but I certainly didn't have any expectation for the Blood Like duology. So imagine my shock and surprise when in 2023, in like early 2023, I believe, I get an email from my agent, Christy, being like, I'm forwarding this to you. This is like really exciting. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what's happening? So I scroll down in the email and it's from my film agent, and it's an offer to option the Blood Like duology. And I'm looking at it and I'm staring at it, and I'm not quite comprehending it, and I just keep kind of looking at it. And my boyfriend was sitting next to me, and he was like looking at my expression. He's like, what's like going on or whatever. And I was like, I think I have optioned my books for film/TV. I was like, I think I got an offer. And he was like excited about it, and I'm still there like, what? Like, it felt very much like not real life. I was like, I don't understand what is happening right now. So then I proceeded to look up Circle Blue Entertainment, and I was really, really excited because I saw that they were a Black founded, Toronto-based production company. They're most well known for Digstown, which is a legal drama, but they've also done a lot of like movies, that sort of thing. And I also believe a documentary that like feature people of color. And I was like, oh. And that was really exciting. I think because for me, when I think of like film and TV, especially with the works that I write and something like Blood Like Magic, which is like very diverse in terms of like cast and also about topics and discussion and that sort of thing. And also like in some ways, even though, you know, published by an American publishing company, to me is also very Canadian. And so I I always kind of like, when I thought about like, oh, maybe my book could be made into a TV or movie, I was always very like, what is gonna be like sacrificed in that? And like, am I going to have to struggle with whomever about the diverse aspects of the project? And then I would just be like, whatever, I won't think about it, it's not even happening. So just looking up the company immediately really made me feel at ease, because I was like, oh, okay, like we're already starting from a very good position, in that they're Canadian, they're Toronto based, Black founded, and have done a lot of projects with people of color. Digstown stars a Black woman, and I was just kind of like, oh, like, yeah, this is really good. So I was very, very excited. And then from there, we essentially ended up having a meeting, me, my literary agent, and the development executive of the production company. We had a meeting just so that we could chat and I can like ask questions and stuff. I had no idea what to ask. I was completely unprepared. I was so glad that Christy was there because she actually had questions that were really good to ask. And so I will be sharing with you what she asked, because she came prepared and ready to go, and I came bewildered and like nothing, head empty, just kind of like, okay, I guess we're gonna meet and we're gonna talk. And usually I'm like a very on the ball, like prepared person, but I really just was not. But things that she asked was like, what is your vision for the project? What sort of other projects do you have on your roster? What do you see happening with this, like a TV show or a movie? And like, who are you maybe interested in approaching? That sort of thing. And then the question I had was about diversity of the writer's room. And also I wanted to talk about like what potential there was for my input. I have always been the sort of person, I don't want to write it. So there are some authors where like their things get optioned for film or TV and they're like, I want to write this. I want to be the one to write it. Never been an interest of mine. I don't even really like having to reread my books because I read them so many times to publish them in the first place. The last thing that I want to do is have to read over my books again and then produce some sort of script when I have absolutely no experience in screenwriting or script writing of any kind, with the exception of when I was in grade 11 or 12. I can't remember. I think it was 12. I wrote a very bad play. And that's it. That's all the experience I have. But I was interested in like still having input in what is being written or produced or what have you. And so we discussed all those things. I can't really get into the details since it's confidential, but I was very happy with all of the answers that I was given. I was just like very much got the sense that the diversity of the work was really important to the company and that they were really going to honor that. And also like just based on the vibe of the people, I just really felt like that wasn't going to be something that was going to be sidelined, that was going to be pushed aside, that was going to be, I just didn't get that feel. I got the feel that they were really going to make that a priority, which was really, really important to me. And so from that point, basically I was like, yeah, I want to sell the option to those people. Let's go. After the meeting with the production company, I then had a separate meeting with my literary agent and my film agent to kind of debrief from all of that and also to discuss anything that I wanted to chat about at that point, to discuss things that might be brought up in negotiation. Obviously, I'm not going to get into the details of my own contract as it is confidential, but these are like the big things that I had heard from other people to like try and get or like try and negotiate for. Whether or not you get them is of course extremely up in the air, but these are kind of the big things that I had heard of that I will share with you so that you can also know them in case this becomes relevant to you. And one is of course the money, negotiating how much money you are getting, because initially you get an offer and so like, do you want to try and ask for more money? Chances are you probably will, though sometimes you're kind of at threshold. It really depends. That's kind of like an agent thing to decide whether they're going to ask more or not. So that might be something. to negotiate how many like books are being optioned as well. So you may be optioning one book in a series, you may be optioning multiple books in a series, that sort of thing. So deciding about that. And then also an executive producer credit. I've heard from other authors to try and get an executive producer credit. The power or ability or what you get for that credit seems to vary greatly. Sometimes it is just like name only, so you get your credit on screen and you're called an executive producer, but you have no real power and nothing kind of additional. But from what I had heard from people about asking about it, is there's some things where you might be able to get more money out of the whole production of it if you are considered an executive producer. And so that might be a reason to try and get it. So I do not know the nitty-gritty of that. I've mostly just heard people say try and get that. So that is something you might want to negotiate for. Also any bonuses. So this is similar to publishing bonuses. So if the work wins awards or that sort of thing, you might want to negotiate for bonuses if those things happen. And then finally, the big thing I had heard is trying to negotiate for how much input you as the author have into the production. And so just kind of like however involved you want to be, trying to get something in there that kind of states contractually how much you will or will not be involved. Because at the end of the day, this is very much like publishing contracts as well. You can have conversations and you can talk, but there's a lot of trust involved in that. There is nothing that is like guaranteed unless it is written into a contract. So anything that you discuss or talk about or what have you outside of a contract can very much not be honored. And so this is kind of why you have to, you know, it's the same with publishing. Like there is that element of trust, like I said, in like when you are signing your work, when you're signing the option, that sort of thing, to consider. And so that's why when you negotiate things, people do try and get as much as possible into writing, because those are the things that you can kind of legally battle for if you so choose. Those are things that are, you know, people are held to contracts. And so that's just kind of, I guess, like an additional tidbit from me to add. And again, this also just goes generally for publishing. But once we had that discussion about those points, after that, it was off to my film agent to basically do all of that negotiation on my behalf. And I feel like I forgot to mention this, but a film agent, just like your literary agent, they do not get paid until you get paid. And so they take a commission from what you get paid, but otherwise they are not charging you and should not be charging you to do the work that they do. So just want to make sure that I got that in there. So that happened, and that took months and months and months and months and months and months, a very long time, which I guess is similar to publishing contracts, because usually publishing contracts, at least in my experience, have taken like from like anywhere from like 2 to 4 months to put together. And so it's very similar in this case. It took a long time to put together, and then eventually I was shown the contract and like, okay, you thumbs up, thumbs down. There were also some like back and forth points in between where my film agent was showing me like, okay, this is kind of what we've negotiated thus far. This is what we're talking about back and forth. These are the points that we're, you know, sticking on, or these are the points that we're like negotiating actively, that sort of thing. So several of those emails had happened before we even got to that final kind of like memo thing. And that was not even the full contract. It was just kind of a succinct contract for me to see everything. And then we were like good to go, and I was like, can I share now? Can I announce it? And they were like, yeah, there you go. So, which is very exciting, because as I said, sometimes people don't even like get the go ahead to announce an option, and so you never know that it happened. So I'm very happy that I got to share that I have optioned the books with everyone. What is next? Where do we go from here? So to my understanding, it is now really in the hands of the production company, and they are able to go and pitch the series. We are looking at a TV series, but again, there are also film rights there, so maybe could go that direction, but I believe we are trying to go a TV series direction. So they can now pitch that to streamers and see what happens. And it's pretty open-ended from there because it really depends on interest at that point. So on my end, I will be going about my regular business as an author, and not really thinking about it too much. I think the theme for me and like film and TV is that I understand very much that this industry and like adaptations, that sort of thing, can be very much long shots. Even when you are like, when someone is like a huge, massive author, their TV show, movie might never get made. Whereas an author that maybe people haven't really heard that much about, their thing will get made. Like it's very kind of all over the place. And so it's something that like could definitely happen. It's something that could definitely not happen. And for me, I'm not really going to be expending a lot of mental energy in it, because it's very much one of those sort of long shot sort of things. For me, I'm going to continue focusing on my books and my written work, since that's what I do. And all, you know, things like film and TV to me are very like big bonus things, that are super exciting, and I'm very, very excited, very jazzed about all of this, but not something that I'm gonna like bank money on or like be anxious about whether or not it's going to happen. I'm just very kind of like come what may about it. And so that's kind of where I am going from here. Of course, if there are any updates that I can share publicly, I of course will share those publicly. If not, I will keep quiet about it. And maybe you'll just hear me in a vlog be like, something exciting is happening, which of course could be a million different things. But yeah, so that is what will happen there. But I'm very excited to have revealed this secret, because this was the last secret. There are so many times in writing vlogs where I would be like, and that's the last secret I have. And then I'd pause and I'd think about the option and I'd be like, never mind. So in this case, that was really the last secret I have. So, yeah, again, I am not an expert, and of course I cannot share contractual secret things, but if you have any questions for me, you can put them in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer in whichever way that I can. And yeah, so I'm very thankful for all of this, thankful to my film agent, thankful to my literary agent, and thankful to all of my readers who have read this series. You know, you never know how these things come to these companies, or how they hear about things, or how any of that happens, but I would find it hard to believe that readership is not involved in that. And so yeah, just thanks to everybody. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!